All right, everybody. So this is gonna be pretty much different. It's a new series that I've been wanting to do. It's called Let's Talk. Pretty cringe, I know, but I just couldn't come up with a clever name for it. Pretty much what this series is that it lets me talk about stuff that's on my mind or stuff I want to talk about, like I don't know, ideas that I came up with that I don't really talk to people about because I think my ideas are cringe. Originally, the very first episode that I was going to do for this series was for a new Mario Party game that I had ideas for. But with certain news and leaks coming out for the new Resident Evil 4 remake, I thought this would be a great way to start off the video because looking at certain leaks and hearing about other people's ideas on them, it really has me thinking like how the new Resident Evil 4 will come out. So pretty much a lot of people are mad about certain leaks. They're happy about certain leaks. It's really mixed. A lot of the big ones that I thought were pretty interesting was that they said that they're going to be cutting some things from the game, like the fan favorite Krauser fight that was pretty much shoehorned in my opinion, because even though a lot of people like that fight, including me, I love the fight. I played it on the Wii, so I got the motion control waggle thingy. I don't really know. I remember playing that fight and I thought it was really cool, but as I grew up and I started to look at it in a lore-wise sense, they kind of just shoehorned Krauser in, especially if you didn't know the backstory of Leon or if you never played it, because it wasn't, I think, until maybe, I don't want to sound like I'm spreading misinformation, but I'm just going to say a year. I don't know the exact release date, but I remember playing Dark Side Chronicles, which had a special mission in it that lets you play as Leon and Krauser, which was the only backstory we got to Krauser, and it wasn't until after that we found out that pretty much Krauser worked with Leon, then something happened, and then he's in Resident Evil 4, lore-wise, anyway. So to go in full detail, so it doesn't sound like I'm just randomly spouting out stuff. In Resident Evil 4, there's the Krauser fight. And we didn't really know who he was when the game came out and we fought him. He just said that he was Leon's old comrade, and that was pretty much it. We never saw him after the boss fight because we beat him, we kill him. And that was pretty much it. And I'm seeing a lot of people not liking that they're cutting him from the remake. But in my opinion, I don't really see it as a bad thing for them to cut him, because in my opinion, when you're playing a game, you're playing it for the story. You're playing it to see how it unfolds, unless you're playing a fighting game, then you're fighting people. But even in a fighting game, the characters in the fighting game have their own little story to them. You're not just playing a game to escape the real world, even though that's what video games mostly are. You're playing a game to see the story. You're playing a game to connect with the character or learn about certain characters, or hell, even attach to certain characters, because there are people out there who are deeply attached to certain characters because they just love the game so much and they kind of see themselves in them, I guess. I don't know. Self-inserting is always cringe to me. But yeah, that was one of the leaks that people didn't really like to hear, that they just didn't want to hear. Like, they didn't want to, like, accept that they're cutting Krauser from the game. And I don't know if it's, like, fully 100% approved, to my knowledge anyway, that they're cutting him. But again, this is to voice my opinion, to voice my ideas and all that. And my opinion is that I don't really care, or I feel like I'm not going to get mad if they do cut him, because his segment in Resident Evil 4, in my opinion again, was kind of just forced in. They kind of just threw him in there without giving any backstory. And we didn't learn his backstory until the Dark Side Chronicles. So him getting cut out isn't really that big of a deal, because we've only really seen him 3 times. There's 2 times you fight him in Resident Evil 4, and then you see him in Dark Side Chronicles. He's not that much of a big character. He was one of the main villains, but that doesn't mean anything, to be honest, in my opinion. And I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for that because I'm not explaining it well, but how do I put it in terms that I can understand it and speak it out? I'm pretty sure I said it right. Like, I'm not saying it's good that they're cutting him. I'm also not saying that it's going to be bad if they do. I'm kind of in the middle of like I don't really care because his place in Resident Evil 4 didn't really make sense. Especially if you played the Dark Side Chronicles, which I did. In that game, you play with him, I think he gets infected. I don't remember because at the ending it just shows him with his right arm or his left arm. I don't remember which arm it was. But it shows him with something, and then like we don't really know what happens to him after that, and then we see him in Resident Evil 4. There's no implication on how or what happened after Dark Side Chronicles, so I'm just looking at it in a lore sense, in a story sense, because that's the main reason I play single player games, for the story. It's the same reason you read a book. You read it for the story. I think that's also why my opinion won't be liked by a lot of people, because I see it in a different view. Another leak that was shown, or I guess talked about, was that Luis, which in my opinion is probably my favorite character in Resident Evil 4, is getting a bigger role. Because in my opinion, I kind of like that. It's also stated that he's like it's implied that the reason they're cutting Krauser is because they're giving Luis a bigger role, and I really hope that's not the case, because then they're just gonna make Luis look like a bad guy. Luis was like a cool bro dude that helped you out in Resident Evil 4, and then he dies. So I really like what the leaks are saying, how they're gonna give him a bigger role, and that the plagas that they're gonna inject in him is gonna make him like a bad guy, but not to his own will. And according to the leaks, he's going to be roaming around the castle, which was also expanded in the leaks apparently. He's going to be roaming around the castle like the Nemesis, and the whole time he's roaming and you fight him, he's going to be begging you to kill him. I think that's kind of funny in my opinion. The whole time he's chasing you, because the plagas, I don't think I explained it, the plagas that was injected into him is like controlling his body, but he still has his consciousness. So that's why like when he's roaming, he's gonna be begging you to kill him, but like he'll be attacking you against his own free will. So I like that they're giving Luis, a new character, a bigger role that he should have gotten in the original game, because I feel like they just kind of killed him off too quick. I felt like in the original game they should have given him a bigger role and let him live probably into the laboratory parts, which is on the island. So I think that was pretty cool to hear anyway. That's what the leaks are saying. I really hope that's the case. But another leak says that Ashley's segment is going to be reworked, and I really hope that's the case, because I cannot express to you how much that I hate escort missions, and that's all Resident Evil 4 is. Resident Evil 4 is just a giant escort mission. Escort missions, in my opinion, I'm not saying they're bad. You know, to each their own. If you love escort missions, by all means, dude, have fun. Go at it. But like, I cannot express to you how much I hate escort missions. I think that's why, as much as I love Dead Rising, I also have a strong hate for it because of the escort missions. So yeah. They said they're going to rework it to where she actually is able to shoot now, and she can also parry or dodge or something like that, because it is being remade on the same engine as, what is it? RE3 and RE2, so it's gonna have the same dodging mechanics. So that's really cool. I'm just kind of happy to see that the leaks are saying she's gonna be able to hold a gun, and I kind of brought a tear to my eye when I heard about it and read it. So yeah, I'm all for that. I also like the idea that the whole like game isn't a full escort mission anymore, because it's said that what is planned is that Ashley will hide in a secure safe room, and then you have to go back for her. So she's not following you 24/7, which means she isn't easily killed, or she isn't easily kidnapped. And I think that's what frustrated me the most, because when I tried to beat the game on hard mode, it was just a fucking nightmare. It was like hell on earth for me. So that's one leak I'm also excited for. So I'm excited for Luis being made into a character that has a bigger role, and I'm really excited for Ashley being able to do something, because I hate playing games where you babysit, because it sucks. You don't get to play the game, you play the babysitting simulator, and it sucks. I don't know if there's any other leaks that's been talked about I know another leak talked about Ada and how the same interaction happens, but she does a little bit more after the confrontation, where she's helping you in the garden maze. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I think people are speculating, or I think it was also in the leaks, that Wesker's gonna have a bigger role too, kind of, where he's like seen more. Because if you don't know the story, Wesker is working behind the scenes after Resident Evil 1. So in Resident Evil 4, Wesker is still working behind the scenes, trying to get all these different viruses, and that's why Ada's there, because Wesker hired her. Even in Resident Evil 4, she's still a rat, a spy, but I love her so much. But what the looks are for the footage, the gameplay footage, I really hope what they plan on leading towards the most, since what they said in the leaks that Ashley's going to be stuck in a safe room and you get to explore by yourself more and play the game, is that I hope they're trying to lean towards Resident Evil 3.5, which is what the community dubs it. It's what the beta footage was for the original Resident Evil 4, and I really hope they're leaning towards that, because I really love horror games, and I really loved the idea that in Resident Evil 4 it was like the progenitor virus, but it's like advanced so much that it screwed with your psyche, and it was like ghosts and zombies and all that. So I thought that would be really cool. To summarize, I like that what they're doing with Luis, giving him a bigger role. I like how they're making Ashley more of her own character, especially with her character development in the said leaks. And I really hope they're leaning towards Resident Evil 3.5. And the biggest one is I don't really care if they cut Krauser. I said it. I'm not saying Krauser's a bad character, don't get me wrong. The character archetype that Krauser is actually one of my top 5 favorite archetypes in all of like media. It's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like the military mercenary out for himself. I guess like an anti-hero, but he's not really an anti-hero in this game, but like that's the best way I could describe it. He's a character archetype that I love a lot in media, especially in video games. So like, you know, it's kind of blasphemous for me to say it, but like you got to look at a video game as like you're watching a movie, or it's like a playable movie, or it's like a playable book. It's, you're playing it for the story. You don't buy a single player game and not play it because of the story. Then if you do that, then there's no point in playing a game like in general, because that's the whole point. And that's why I don't really care if they cut Krauser, because in terms to the story, he didn't make that much of an impact besides, I am your old comrade, fight me. That's literally all his story was. I don't really care if he's cut out. I love the fight that we did with him. Both fights, the QTE and the actual gunfight. I love his character archetype, but I don't love how they just kind of put him in there, because he's kind of just there just to give Leon some emotional event, I guess, even though there wasn't really an emotional event. He's pretty much just a soldier that betrayed the U.S. military. Well, not the military, but he was an agent, a U.S. agent like Leon. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. You know, pretty scuffed first video for Let's Talk, but that's my opinion on the leaks, and I'm really liking it so far. I liked the gameplay footage. It looks really nice. I love Leon's design. He looks just like Resident Evil 2 Remake Leon, but more scruffy. He looks more, I want to die because of what happened in Resident Evil 2, and he's just so tired of it. Ashley looks really good. And that's pretty much all we've seen. We've only seen Leon, Ashley, and I think one other character, but that's about it. Anyway, I don't want this video to get too long. Just wanted to start off this new series with something, since I'm working really hard and taking too long on the new Mario Party video for this series. So I thought this would be a great way to start off the series. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on the Resident Evil 4 Remake Leaks. Fight me.